The Armenian Genocide occurred between 1915 and 1923. This was an annihilation at the hand of the Ottoman Turks, where approximately 1.5 million Armenians were murdered during that time period. They accomplished this by murdering men and leaders at the onset, and then also training all of the able-bodied men to work camps. The women, children, and elderly were driven into the desert, into the Syrian desert, to starve to death. I did not know about this genocide. I didn't learn about it in school. I'm not Armenian. The only way I knew about this was because I was asked to participate in a design competition for the design of a memorial commemorating the 100 years since this tragedy. This photograph stuck with me unlike any other. I feel like these photographs are proof of the crimes against the Armenians, and it permeated my subconscious so much to the point where, in a dream, I walked through the desert, walked up to this structure, and in that moment, I felt that it represented the cross in a sense, where it's just this remnant, this geometric remnant of the container and the housing of this innocent suffering. I didn't feel like this suffering should remain. I wanted to integrate elements of hope and light. So I incorporated the Armenian eternity symbol and also a water feature that from the pinnacle of the structure itself drops every 21 seconds and counts to the 1.5 million lives lost for the year. This was the final design that I submitted, and it was unanimously approved by the Pasadena Armenian Genocide Memorial Committee. And from that point forward, Pasadena was extremely excited about this project because it was representing a community and the Armenian diaspora in Pasadena that was not really recognized, and it also activated an inactive part of Pasadena Memorial Park, which is in the northwest corner of the park. Local architect Stefanos Palazoidis volunteered along with all the rest of us to realize this project. He oversaw my completion of drawings and presentation packets that were then approved by city staff and then eventually by city council. We blessed the ground. These are ancient Christians, a very proud and beautiful culture, and anointed this project, which was unlike any other experience, and everything seemed that it was going wonderfully, and then it stopped. There was silence, and there was some inner conflict, I believe, in the community, particularly in the committee, and I didn't think that this project was even going to happen. So about 6 months, I was unaware of the potential for this even to exist. Then I got a call, and I got invited to the groundbreaking, and I said, I'm going. And a new group had assembled, and we broke ground. Everyone was vibrant and excited and willing and had pooled all sorts of volunteer resources to go into construction. And essentially, we built it over 3 months. 1,000 people arrived at the unveiling, and then I was able to be a part of the community to march.
And thank you. Well, I appreciate this as an Armenian very much. I'm wondering, it's a genocide not greatly known, as you've talked about. So I guess what I'm wondering is, what sort of opportunities do you see with this project to continue forward with outreach? You know, probably most people that will go to this, maybe not, will themselves be Armenian. So really the challenge is, how do you let other people understand that this genocide occurred?
Right, and I did get to had it at the end, but you know, because of the large amounts of people that gathered for the 100-year commemoration, about 160 of us marched through Los Angeles, and that was quite a statement. And anyone who didn't know at least asked, "What is this?" And I think that I tried also to keep it out of the realm of just being focused on the Armenian story, and it really became more of a story about tolerance. And unfortunately, it's still a current issue, as we see, with everything happening in our country and of course beyond. But love and tolerance and understanding is the best resource we can to sustain our own existence. And I think that's something that rings true and has rang true through this project.
So how is that resonance achieved in the piece? I mean, the piece tells a story with the tiers and the gallows, and I guess that there's something going on at the base there, but how is that resonance beyond the experience?
Well, we had hoped, and we're always accepting funding, and that's part of our ultimate vision for this project, that we would have some interactive digital elements where you can learn more about the genocide, you can see the physical counting, and hopefully and potentially be able to leave stories and spread it more internationally in a digital sense.
Elizabeth?
I think it's a very tricky thing to balance remembering a tragedy with the idea of inspiring people who come to visit a place. So I'm interested to hear, were there other memorial spaces that inspired the project, or were there lessons learned or things you wanted to avoid from existing memorials?
Well, for me, I mean, being a non-Armenian, I was very, very careful about not misrepresenting a culture that was not my own. So very much looked to all of the ancient symbology and tried to create a space and environment that had symbols and things that mattered to them. And I did look into the main memorial in Armenia. And so there's the 12 original provinces that are around, and then hand-carved around this site are the 12 provinces in Armenian and English. So there's a lot of elements that I felt were necessary to incorporate to make it matter to the Armenian people. And like the memorial in Armenia, for the commemoration, they placed a large amount of flowers around, and that was the moment that just broke me when I realized I was, a steward of this memory, and I had accomplished, communicating what was important to the Armenian people.
Sarah, you looked like you had a question.
Oh, I just wondered how long the piece had been in place and what outcomes you've seen from the Armenian community as well as the general public.
Yeah, well, the whole project process was 3 years. So from the competition until April of this year. Every time I go, there's someone there. I don't go very often, but certainly around the commemoration, people were always gathering, and it was just, I tried to be a fly on the wall and see how people were experiencing the space.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.